Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 48th part of What If Deku Had a Robot Wolf. I hope you enjoy. Link to the original story and author in the description. Chapter 48, Staff. Izumi let out a relaxed sigh as she fell back onto her bed and closed her eyes, wearing casual clothing. It had been an exhausting first day back. After discovering May had been experimenting with Karasorum, she showed them a PowerPoint presentation of what she could make with the stuff. She had quite a lot of ideas, including a power plant idea for Durandal. Thankfully, none of them were of the quirk emulator variety, which was comforting, as it meant that she didn't have to worry about that can of worms just yet. There was also May's measuring. Since Achiko had gotten taller and bustier, May's measurements of the girl were now out of date, and she needed new ones. So she got them the only way she knew how. By feeling all over the girl's body. Izumi felt somewhat jealous of May feeling all over her girlfriend's body. That was until May turned her attention onto the fluffy green-haired girl and started measuring her as well. Followed by Tsu, Momo, Himiko, Nijire, who seemed to enjoy it, and Chiharu, who was still trying to process her gay awakening. After that, they all got back into their school uniforms and returned to the dorm. Izumi was glad she was no longer wearing her new costume. It was embarrassing to wear, and she wanted to get the proper version ASAP. Sadly, she'll have to wait until Powerloader gets a reply from the emails he's sent before she can think about getting a replacement. So until then, she's stuck with her current costume. With another sigh, Izumi opened her eyes just seconds before Achiko landed on top of her and started to kiss her. Was she surprised by this? Yes. Should she have expected this to happen since she was technically alone with Achiko in her room? Also yes. Was she happy that she was kissing her girlfriend after a stressful day? Also yes. Izumi melted into the kiss, slowly putting her arms around her girlfriend and allowing her to take the lead. A glance out of the corner of her eye allowed her to watch Durandal leave the room to give them some privacy and ensure they weren't disturbed. Once he was gone, Izumi gleefully returned to the kiss. She could easily get used to this. Sadly, like all good things, their kiss had to end. Their lips soon parted as their lungs burned for air, and their eyes locked together. "You seem rather excited today, Achiko," Izumi observed, panting slightly. "I spent a good half hour trying to control myself whilst you were dressed like a Playboy bunny," Achiko replied. "You're lucky that I have more control than Nijire because you have no idea just how much I wanted to kiss you back there." "Not my fault. The designers must have combined my requests or something," Izumi replied, a deep blush on her face. "I wasn't exactly comfortable wearing it, she said, looking away. She was just glad that the costume still covered her scars. She didn't want the others to see them. Achiko gave her a comforting smile. "It's okay, Izumi. Whilst I liked it, I hope you won't have to wear it for long. I will be here for you, always," she said. "I may have liked seeing you wear that costume. I won't force you to wear it again." "Well," Izumi said, still blushing, "if you like it, I might be okay wearing it again. But don't expect me to keep it, okay? The moment I can get it changed, I will change it. But if you like it, I could, maybe, get a non-hero costume version, For private time," she said as her blush started to get redder. Achiko smiled before she leaned in and kissed Izumi's forehead. "I'd like that, but I don't want to force you to do anything you don't want to, okay?" Izumi looked back at Achiko and smiled slightly. "Okay," she said before she leaned in and kissed her. Achiko gleefully returned the kiss. Oh, how she missed kissing her girlfriend. Yes, she managed to get plenty of makeout time with Izumi yesterday, but she wanted more. She had been without her for a week. That was 7 days without being able to kiss Izumi, and she wanted to make up for lost time. And by the looks of things, so did Izumi, if how handsy she was getting was anything to go by. Achiko let out a deep moan as Izumi gave her rump a nice squeeze. Very handsy by the looks of it. The next day, about 10 minutes before school started, Izumi and Durandal quickly made their way towards the school's library. Izumi held a few books she had borrowed from the library. A few being about 10 of them, all about quirks. "Did you really need to borrow so many books?" Durandal asked as they made their way towards the library. I wanted to do a bit more research on quirks, Izumi replied. I want to improve my quirk analysis, so learning more about quirks will be helpful. She knew her quirk analysis was good, but, as Sir Night-Eye always said, it could be better. So, even though she's at UA, she's still practicing her quirk analysis / don't use it, you lose it and all. And she didn't want to lose any training Sir Night-Eye had given her. They suddenly stopped when they saw a female student, a second year, leaning against a wall whilst looking at the other wall. Izumi recognized this girl as the one who warned them about midnight sex ed class. What was her name again? Hey, what? Izumi said before the other girl turned towards her and put her finger on her lips. She then counted down from 5 to 0. Suddenly, the wall she was looking at opened, and 2 students were thrown out of it. Moments later, the wall closed up. The other girl sighed, 3 minutes. Just like everyone else. We almost had it. One of the students said. Yep, so did everyone else who tried, the girl said. What the fuck just happened? Durandal asked. They tried out Nizu's playpen, the other girl said, unofficial name, by the way. Behind that wall is a room where the walls, floor, and ceiling are covered in numbers, with a single keypad connected to a 9-digit code, she explained. We've seen Nizu entering the room several times, it's how we know the room's there and how to get into it. But no one's been able to figure out what the code to the keypad is. Moreover, you only have 1 shot at it and 3 minutes to input the right code. If you fail and get kicked out, you can't get back in again. We've been trying to solve this puzzle for the past 4 years. Unsuccessfully, as you can see. Izumi nodded along to the girl's explanation. This was an exciting discovery, very interesting. A puzzle room left by Nizu that no one has been able to solve. Challenge accepted. But later. She wanted to gather more information about this room before she attempted to enter the room. She didn't want to go in there unprepared. Hey, Green, Kyoka said as she walked up behind her, holding a book. Wow, what happened to those 2? Nizu's playpen, the girl replied as the other 2 students brushed themselves off, they just failed it. It's a puzzle room, Izumi added. Oh, Kyoka nodded, not interested in puzzle rooms. Yeah, I wouldn't go in there without some form of plan, unlike these 2, the girl said as the other 2 students walked off. Oh right, we've never been properly introduced. The name's Chikuchi Togaike. General Education Class 2D. Izumi Midoriya, Hero Course 1A. Hero name Yusako, Izumi said, introducing herself. This is Durandal, my robotic companion and emotional support robot. Kyoka Jiro, same class. Hero name Earphone Jack, Kyoka added. Ah, the hell class, Chikuchi said with a slight frown. Don't get me wrong, I don't have any problems with your class. It's not like you asked to be attacked by villains during your first week. But a lot of students in the other course, mainly those in general education, don't like you guys. A lot of people see you as a bunch of glory hounds who wanted the USJ to happen. Some of my classmates included. Hey! Most of us almost died that day. Kyoka growled, one of our teachers died, for God's sake. Yes, I know that, Chikuchi said, and no, I don't blame you for 13's death. You couldn't have done much against the man who killed Russia's entire top 10 in one day. But there are a few people who don't believe that. I think someone is drumming up hate against you guys. I don't know who's doing it, but I think someone dislikes you guys. Now that was worrying. Someone drumming up hatred against their class. This could get problematic if not dealt with quickly. They'll have to bring this up with their teacher. No way they can allow something like this to fester for too long. Thanks for the heads up, Izumi said. Don't worry about it, Chikuchi said before she noticed the books the 2 girls were holding. Are those books from the library? She asked. The 2 girls nodded. Well, make sure they're not damaged. The librarian gets very violent if someone damages her books, she said before leaving. The 2 girls shared a glance and gulped. They knew some of the teachers were eccentric, which was terrifying. Well, at least the books they were bringing back were not damaged. Hopefully. Well, at least we've been warned about that, Durandal said. You know, she's been warning us about a lot of things, Kyoka said. We should thank her for that at some point. Yeah, we should, Izumi said, at a later date. We still have to give these books back. Kyoka nodded before the three continued on their way towards the library. All the while, she was thinking about Nizu's playpen. Well, Izumi was thinking about it. Meanwhile, Kyoka was thinking about how she would avoid the librarian's wrath if she somehow ended up damaging a book. When they reached the library, it was unsurprisingly unoccupied and massive. There were rows upon rows of books, thousands of them. Izumi had been here several times before, but the sheer size of the room still amazed her. There were just so many books. Kyoka quickly looked around. I don't see the librarian, she said. Maybe we can deposit our books without her noticing. Yeah, that sounds like a good dash, Izumi said before danger scene pinged. There was something behind her, something terrifying. The two girls and one robot slowly turned around and found themselves face to face with the most terrifying thing imaginable. UA's librarian. Kanako Koku. Kanako was a woman with a very voluptuous figure. She had long, wavy, white hair tied into a ponytail and gray eyes. She wore a tight-fitting white blouse, a black pencil skirt, and black ankle boots. Her left leg was also prosthetic. The two girls gulped. They had seen this woman several times before, but never before had she looked so terrifying. Izumi herself was extra terrified, as thanks to danger sense, she could tell just how dangerous this woman could be, with the threat mostly coming from the woman's hands and prosthetic leg. Ah, Miss Kanako, Kyoka said, holding the book she intended to return slightly closer to her chest. We were just returning some books we borrowed. The librarian, Miss Kanako, leveled the two girls with a sharp, intimidating glare. Kyoka nervously passed the book to her, who took it and started to examine it closely. It's undamaged. Impressive, you are one of the few hero course students who returned one of my books undamaged. Very good. The two girls sighed in relief, glad that the librarian wasn't going to attack them. Izumi relaxed as she put her pristine books on the desk, as unlike most people, she didn't use her quirk around them. Well, you two seem to be a lot more careful around my books than most hero course students, Kanako said with a smile. Most of the time, my books are returned damaged when you lot return them. Well, I don't like to make a habit of damaging the books I borrow, Izumi said. Well, that's a good habit to have, HUI. Kanako said as she spotted another student, a second year by the looks of it, trying to put a book back into the book deposit box discreetly. The student's face went pale, realizing that he had been spotted. He yelped when Kanako shot over to him and took the book, examining it with a critical eye. This isn't one of my books. It may look like the one you borrowed, but it isn't one of mine, she said before she looked up at the boy before her. Where is the real book you borrowed? The boy gulped before opening up his bag and passed her another book, which had been burnt to a crisp. Kanako glared at the book, a dark, sinister aura slowly forming around her. She slowly pulled a club out from her prosthetic leg, her eyes swiftly looking back towards the student before her. The student shot out of the room like a bullet. Get back here, you bloody hero wannabe! Kanako shouted as she gave a chance to the student. I'll teach you to respect my fucking books. Izumi and Kyoka sweat dropped. Well, guess he didn't take good care of his borrowed book, Durandal remarked. No, he did not, Kyoka said. You'd think they would put up a sign warning about that. I'm just glad we're not the one she's mad at, Izumi said, sighing relief. She did not want to be chased back to class by a crazy librarian who did not like people damaging her books. Come on, let's head back to class, Kyoka said before she started looking around. Kyoka, what's wrong? Izumi asked, sounding worried. Danger sense wasn't going off, well, not massively, anyway. Kyoka shook her head. Sorry, it's nothing. Just thought I heard a bee. Probably flew in through an open window, Durandal said. The two girls shrugged before they rushed back to class, neither wanting another lecture from Tenya about how, as students of UA, they should strive to be at class early, as in half an hour early. Not seconds before class is supposed to start. But, as they left, they did not notice the pair of eyes watching them. Yuga observed the two girls as they left the library. Oh, how he would have just loved to get some payback there and then. But now was not the time to strike. He was there only to observe the hero students for the league, at the moment at least. He could not allow his cover to be blown over something as small as a personal vendetta. So, for now, he'd continue to gather information on the hero course. That wasn't all he was doing, however. He was also drumming up resentment against Class 1A, as well as looking for fellow general education students who might be willing to join him the league. Not easy considering this is UA. But, he did manage to find 2 students whose hatred of the hero course was strong. Strong enough to make them easy to convince them to join him. One was a first year like him who could remotely detonate explosives, and the other was a second year with a basic strength enhancement quirk. And, if things go well, he might be able to convince someone from the support department to join them as well. Having someone who can make them support equipment would be a nice thing to have. With those 2 by his side, he might be able to shake the hero course students up a bit. But, he was still building his little UA branch of the league. Now was not the time to strike. So, whilst the students of 1A went about their day, enjoying their time in the spotlight, he will be helping to plan their demise. And then, once they're out of the way, he will take their place. The rest of the day went like any other day. Classes went on as normal, as did lunch. The only difference was heroics, which was one of the rare theory classes they had. Okay, class, Kana said as she stood behind the podium, 22 students seated before her. Due to this being heroics, Chiharu and her daughter may join them for this lesson. Today we will be having a special lesson on hero management. Some of you may not see the benefits of having a manager, and most small-time heroes don't need one as they can run their agencies themselves. But when you become more popular and start having sidekicks, you will need additional staff to help manage it, accountants, PR agents, quirk analysts, dispatch, and several other roles. The management and general studies courses help train people to fill in those roles, as well as many other roles in our society, she explained. Another important role is hero manager. All the big heroes have a manager to help them work on their image. Unlike normal managers, hero managers work differently. Can anyone tell me what that difference is? Chiharu's hand instantly shot up. Hero managers work with the hero to help them work on their image, help manage their day-to-day life, and stop them from making any deals, agreements, or other things that may not be in their best interests, she explained. My homeroom teacher had us watch a presentation all about the importance of hero management, and it included a section on heroes who made deals that ended up screwing them over. Exactly, Kana said with a smile, as expected from someone from the business course. Chiharu's correct. Hero manages to help you run your agency. Smaller agencies won't need one, but once you hire more staff and sidekicks, you will need someone to help manage your agency. All the members of the top 10 and all the heroes in the top 200 have a manager helping them. Yes, even Mirko has a manager. The entire class was surprised by that little tidbit of information. Mirko was a solo hero. She had no sidekicks, rarely teamed up with others, and never took on interns. So to find out that she had a hero manager was surprising. Why does she have a manager? Mina asked. Because she realized that she needed one, a man said as the door to the classroom opened, and a refined-looking man walked in. The man was tall with white hair styled into a slicked-back hairdo, a handlebar mustache and a well-kept, medium-sized beard. He also had black eyeliner around his blue eyes. His clothing was also quite extravagant as well. He wore a dark purple jacket with enlarged collars and coattails, loose pinstripe pants, white cuffs, purple gloves, a woolly scarf, and carried a cane. Some heroes can be difficult for managers to deal with. Mirko is one such example, the man said as he walked over to the podium, Kana stepping out of the way so that he may stand behind it. Her personality makes working with her difficult at times. But, she's not the kind of person who's good with making business deals such as merch and the like, so she hired a manager to do that for her. This is one such reason why managers are useful for heroes. They help with things the heroes they're working with are either unskilled or have no interest in, he said before he bowed slightly. Gentle hero, homeroom teacher for class 1J, at your service. Chiharu sighed tiredly. Even in heroics, I can't escape him. He's your homeroom teacher, Toru said. Why do you have a hero for a homeroom teacher? Wouldn't you have someone with a lot of business management experience as a homeroom teacher? He may be a hero, but he knows a lot about the management side of heroics, Izumi said, excitedly vibrating. Because why wouldn't she? It's another hero who worked at UA. Of course, she would be excited. Of course, Durandal stopped her before she could go all hero fangirl and rant about the man's accomplishments. Gush about heroes later, please. Right, sorry, Durandal, Izumi said before focusing on the lesson. How much do you guys want to bet that guy used to be a villain? One of the vestiges asked. Izumi ignored them and focused on the lesson but failed to notice Himiko looking around with a confused look on her face. Now then, today we will be going over the importance of hero management, Gentle Hero said before he clicked his fingers. Almost immediately, a girl appeared right next to him, having dropped down from a hatch in the ceiling. Okay. The girl was a very short young woman with quite a large, round head. Her hair was raspberry pink hair, tied up in two high pigtails. She had dark circles around her pink eyes, but unlike Gentle, these didn't look like eyeliner. Her costume was quite elaborate. She wore an indigo shirt with large buttons and long, upturned frilly sleeve cuffs, a pair of white, puffy pinstripe pants, shiny high-heeled boots, heart-shaped earrings, a big white bow around her neck, and matching thick gloves. Who's she? Denki asked as the girl walked up and stood beside Gentle Hero. The girl sighed, we went over this during orientation. But, for those who don't remember, I am La Brava, head of UA's IT department, she said with a smile. I had to get permission from someone to book one of the IT rooms, Kana added. Anyway, I will be here to control the slideshow you will be watching today, La Brava said with a smile. Why are you doing it? Hanta asked, why doesn't Gentle Hero do it? He can, La Brava replied, I just volunteered to do them for him. She's always doing that, by the way, Chihiro added. Having known the hero the longest due to being her homeroom teacher, she knew it was all too common to see the head of IT with him as well. The lesson went on as expected. Chihiro already knew what they were going over, having already seen the presentation on her first day, so she mostly sat back and allowed everyone else to watch it in peace, not even raising her hand to answer any questions. The rest of the class listened to the presentation carefully. This would all be very important to them once they go pro. Wouldn't want to make a mistake and end their career due to agreeing to a bad deal, now would they? Once the lesson was over, Gentle Hero and La Brava left the classroom and returned to their joint office. Well, I believe that went well, Gentle Hero said as the two walked. It went well for his first time teaching a class full of hero students. He expected one of them to have at least recognized who he used to be, especially that green-haired girl, Izumi Midoriya. She shockingly knew much about the subject, alongside Momo Yaoyorozu and Achiko Uraraka. I knew it'll go well, Gentle, La Brava beamed, you're almost a natural teacher, she said, impressed by Gentle's teaching skills. It helped that the lesson they were teaching was something they'd already taught before. Well, I'm glad you two are settling in, Horigaramu said behind them. The two jumped with a yelp and turned around, Vice Principal. It's good to see you, Gentle Hero said nervously, what brings you here? Just checking in on how well you two are doing, Horigaramu replied, it's been a while since we hired you two, and I wanted to see how well you two were doing? Ah, yes. We're doing fine, Gentle Hero said nervously. He was still scared of her despite having worked with the woman for about a year. With good reason. Never felt better. Well, you're doing a lot better than you were when we first met, Horigaramu said with a smile. When Mizu and I first found you, you two were nothing more but a pair of low-rate D-rank villains, just starting out, wanting to make their mark on the world. But ended up being nothing more than a minor nuisance, she said, noting Gentle Hero and La Brava deflate. You were barely making ends meet, you had 0 subscribers, and your actions only ended up causing more harm than good, not helped by your sheer lack of insight. Case in point, trying to break into UA whilst I exist, she said with sadistic glee, and yet, here you are now. Fully rehabilitated and working at UA, as heroes, no less. I'd say that's quite the achievement. Yes, and we appreciate the second chance, Gentle Hero said. I will admit, I was hesitant to accept this offer initially. I did not think what you were offering would be possible. Us, becoming heroes. Preposterous. But, well, I'm glad we decided to stick with it. This second chance you and Nizu have given us, it's... Words cannot describe how much this means to us. Plus, it allows us to expose the criminal dealings of businesses and be listened to. That and Nizu was a fellow tea connoisseur. Like I said when we brought you two into the rehabilitation program, very few people listen to villains, Horiguramo said with a smile, but heroes, oh, the public will listen to them. And what do you know, they listen to you now. Besides, why bother exposing the questionable dealings of small businesses when you can go all out and reveal the questionable dealings of even bigger corporations, she said with a sadistic smile. Both Gentle Hero and La Brava gulped. This was worrying. This was very worrying. Horiguramo never got this sadistic unless she and Nizu were planning something. WW, what do you need us to do? Gentle Hero asked, fearing for his life. Oh, nothing much, Horiguramo chirped, I just need you to hack into the computer belonging to a Mr. Tanaka. He owns several casinos nationwide, and we believe he may be using them to meet up with people for shady deals. Plus, he's using even more shady deals to build casinos in places he shouldn't be allowed to. So, we're putting a stop to him. Gentle Hero and La Brava let out sighs of relief, relieved that she wasn't going to send them to kill someone. Then again, they had someone else to do that. Now, you two should carry on with your day, Horiguramo said with a smile. Good day, she said before disappearing. The two waited for a few moments before they collapsed into each other. Oh God, that woman scares me, La Brava cried, holding Gentle dearly. She scares me too, La Brava, Gentle said, rubbing circles on La Brava's back. I dread to think what would have happened to us had we decided to go all out on them, he said before standing back up. Anyway, we should get going. VTuber and Rat Overlords have a mission for us to prepare for. A session with Hound Dog to book. La Brava nodded frantically before the two rushed off. Sadly, they failed to notice that their conversation with Horiguramo had someone listening in. Someone who wished she hadn't. Damn you things. Kyoka cursed, glaring daggers at her jacks. Thanks to them, she knew way too many secrets that she really shouldn't know. Barrows sat quietly within her cell, curled up on her cot. When clairvoyance captured her, she offered no resistance. She didn't have anywhere else to go, not whilst Humarise was under the control of an unknown group of people who just creeped her the fuck out. And going with Argonaut was a fucking no-go. She hadn't told the heroes or police everything, only that Humarise was taken over by an unknown group of people who somehow controlled everyone. At the time, she hoped that they would investigate these people and have them removed. Humarise, despite many people voicing negative opinions about them, hadn't done anything villainous or illegal, publicly, at least, so everything should return to normal once the 3 remaining interlopers were removed. If the heroes didn't find out about the plan to destroy all Quirk, things should be fine. It should have been fine. A few days ago, clairvoyance came in once more, a somber frown on her face. When she told her that Humarise Ophion branch had been destroyed, Barrows' heart broke. Yes, Humarise had been taken over by an unknown group, but she had sought out the writer to help her remove those 4 freaks and return things to how they were. She didn't want the entire organization destroyed. What made things worse was that no one knew who was doing this. All they left behind were a large number of bloody dead bodies and no evidence of how the perpetrator killed them all. Barrows broke down after hearing the news. She didn't speak. She didn't eat. She just quietly cried for the rest of the day. Every day since, clairvoyance would return with another report about a Humarise branch being destroyed, with all its members dead. And each day, Barrows would shrink into herself a little more. Those weren't just some random people dying out there. They were friends, co-workers, and comrades in arms. Family. And someone was murdering them all. She didn't look up when she heard the sound of the door to the cell block opening or footsteps approaching and stopping right in front of her cell. Which one? Barrows asked quietly, not even bothering to look up. Clairvoyance frowned, London. Barrows closed her eyes and rested her head against her knees. That made 7 sites destroyed.
7 Humarise branches, including the main one, are gone.
Yes, that left 19 sites, but it was only a matter of time before they fell to this unknown force. We've also found several mass graves outside each of the branches that have already been hit, Clairvoyance continued. We've already started identifying bodies, and all of the ones we've identified so far were registered as quirkless. A fist slammed against the wall of the cell. Barrow's eyes were closed shut, tears slowly forming around them. The majority of Humarise members were quirkless, and those freaks were killing them all.
Why? Why kill them?
Quirkless were pure, clean, untainted by the curse that was quirks. She had hoped that the massacre at the Atheon branch was a one-off. But by the looks of it, it wasn't. Everywhere those 4 stepped, they corrupted with their presence, shifting Humarise beliefs from removing quirks to something else. If it's any consolation, I'm sorry about this, Clairvoyance said somberly. We're trying our hardest to find those responsible for this, but those behind the attacks haven't left any evidence behind.
Just find those responsible for this, Barrows growled.
Her friends were dying out there, enslaved by some freaks of nature. The quirkless weren't supposed to have powers. They were free of their taint. Yet those 4 had the toe joint, but they had powers as well.
Claire frowned and lowered her head.
We're trying, but we have no idea where they will attack next.
Is there anything you can tell me about the 4 people who took over Humarise?
I've already told you everything that I know about them, Barrows said quietly, looking up at Claire. A few weeks ago, 4 people, 2 men, 2 women, all claiming to be quirkless, showed up one day at our Atheon branch. They all passed the quirkless test and had the extra toe joint. So we happily allowed them to join our ranks. The next few days were normal until I noticed everyone was acting strange around me.
I didn't know what was going on until it was too late.
Within a week, these newcomers had taken over the entirety of Humarise leadership, she said. Despite having the additional toe joints, they all had quirks, powerful ones too. They could read our minds and move things around without touching them. I believe they did something to control the others, some form of mind control. Soon after they took over, they ordered the death of every quirkless member of Humarise, which, I might add, was something everyone was okay with, even those who were quirkless. After that, 3 of them went off to other sites, probably to spread their corruption. The one left behind was later killed by that Hilala woman Argonaut brought along with him, she explained. I don't know why I was the only one immune to their mind control, or whatever it was they were doing. But I wasn't affected. I wasn't someone unquestionably loyal to these people for some reason. I could say no to them.
Unlike everyone else, she said before she looked up at the Spanish woman before her. Why are you so interested in those 4 anyway?
Because I believe they may relate to another case, Claire said. Tell me, what do you know about the dreadnoughts?
And no, I'm not referring to the British pro-hero of the same name. I'm referring to something else.
The demons of the shadows, the dark disciples, the silent assassins who kill without leaving a body.
Barrows shook her head. I'm afraid I don't know who you're referring to. I don't listen to fairy tales.
Trust me, the dreadnoughts are very much real, Claire said. Whilst we barely know anything about them, we know they exist. Lurking in the shadows and hunting down their prey, leaving nothing behind that can be used to track them, not even a body.
We know that they attack people at random, sometimes villains, sometimes normal civilians, and occasionally heroes.
We've never been able to uncover why they have been hunting these individuals down and killing them. Until now, she said. You said those 4 individuals who took over were quirkless but possessed quirk-like powers, telepathy, mind control, telekinesis. Well, remember when you mentioned that the villain Hilala killed, she said, waiting until Barrows nodded. Well, we didn't find the body or his clothing.
Or anything that would have shown that he was ever there.
Barrows' eyes went wide in shock.
That's impossible.
She saw that bug woman consume the guy, reducing him to bones.
She saw the woman eat him alive.
There was evidence of him right there.
Where the hell did it go?
There's also something else as well, Claire continued. When we were examining the New York branch, we found evidence that one of these people you spoke of was there as well, on the day of the attack, but their body was not among the dead. We now have 2 confirmed identities of people who these dreadnoughts have killed, and what do you know, they both had the same powers.
We now have something we've never had before, identities of their targets before they hit them. We might be able to track these guys down and put a stop to them.
Yeah, at the cost of almost everyone in Humarise, Barrows spat.
Claire frowned. I'm sorry, but there's not much we can do to help them. We can't enter their other branches without permission, which you know will never be given. All we can do is warn the rest of Humarise about the threat and hope your new leadership takes it seriously.
Sadly, they are not listening.
We're lucky we can go into the sites that have already been attacked to investigate what happened to them.
They don't exactly want us roaming around their branches.
As expected from a bunch of villains.
Villain, Barrows said, looking up at the other woman with a confused look. I'll admit, I may have contacted a villain to help the situation with Humarise, but I'm no villain, and neither are the members of Humarise.
If anything, we're victims. A bunch of people did take over our organization and kill all of its quirkless members.
And I would believe that, Claire said, had we not found a massive stockpile of trigger and idiotrigger hidden underneath your Atheon branch.
As well as underneath all the other branches that have been hit.
Barrows gasped.
How did they find that out?
They went to great lengths to hide the trigger they were stockpiling.
They shouldn't have been able to find them.
But then she remembered that there would have been no one there to guard them. That the buildings were crime scenes.
They would search every nook and cranny for anything linked to the crime.
It would only have been a matter of time before they found the trigger or the prototype bombs.
Barrows collapsed against the wall.
They had been found out, all because a bunch of freaks had taken over their organization.
We found the plans for those trigger bombs your organization has been developing and what you plan to do with them, Claire said with a frown.
I'm shocked that you seem perfectly fine with committing mass genocide on a global scale.
It's for the good of mankind, Barrows said quietly.
There was no point in hiding it. They already knew the plan to erase quirks on a massive scale.
Lying wouldn't help her now.
Good of mankind, my arse, Claire growled, you'd wipe out all of humanity with such a plan.
And even if there were survivors, they wouldn't last long.
They'll be far too spread out to organize themselves into communities properly. And don't get me started on the ecological damage such bombs would have.
There is some good news, though.
Thanks to this discovery, we can do something to help what's left of Humarise, she said. We can have them all arrested for planning to commit an act of global terror, yourself included.
It's not much, but it's better than enslavement. Barrows curled up and began to cry. This wasn't what was supposed to happen.
She left Humarise to help it.
To remove those freaks so they could return to their original mission.
But the discovery of the trigger, the bombs, the mass graves.
It was the end of Humarise as she knew it.
If she had just kept her mouth shut and hadn't gone out to get help, none of this would be happening. The heroes would be none the wiser. She should have used her immunity to their mind control to do something to stop them.
Instead, she brought about the end of Humarise. Clairvoyance said something else, but Barrows didn't hear it.
She had brought the end to the very organization she spent years helping, working for, fighting for, and killing for. And now, all those she had to kill to get them to where they were now would be all for naught. The disease that was quirks would persist, and the only force that wanted to destroy them would be gone. Destroyed. No one would listen to or join them now, not after the news of what was happening to Humarise or what they were trying to do got out. She also couldn't help but feel like she was disappointing someone, but she did not know who. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 49.
If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.